Hey everybody, thank you so much for tuning into the channel. Remember to click like, share, and subscribe. Once again, thank you so much for tuning into the channel. Remember to click like, share, and subscribe. And thank you for watching.
With the Lucky Land Slots, you can get lucky just about anywhere.
This is your captain speaking. We've got clear runway and the weather's fine, but we're just going to circle up here a while and get lucky. No, nothing like that. It's just these cash prizes add up quick. So I suggest you sit back, keep your tray table upright, and start getting lucky.
Play for free at LuckyLandSlots.com. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Leftovers or the DMV
Number 97
or house cleaning or Chumba Casino always brings the fun. Play over 100 different games online for free from anywhere. You could redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. Live the Chumba life. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Leftovers or the DMV
Number 97
or house cleaning or
Chumba Casino always brings the fun. Play over 100 different games online for free from anywhere. You could redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. Live the Chumba life. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus terms and conditions apply. See website for details. Leftovers or the DMV
Number 97
or house cleaning or Chumba Casino always brings the fun. Play over 100 different games online for free from anywhere. You could redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. Live the Chumba life. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
leftovers or the DMV
Number 97
or house cleaning or
Chumba Casino always brings the fun. Play over 100 different games online for free from anywhere. You could redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. Live the Chumba life. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Hello, everybody. I'm Ed Robinson, and welcome to another exciting edition of The Robinson Show. On the program, I have baseball aficionado Dave Bartley. He's on the program to discuss the 2023 Major League Baseball All-Star rosters and this year's All-Star Game venue, which is T-Mobile Park in Seattle, Washington. Dave is coming up after the break. Stay tuned. You're listening to The Robinson Show.
Get it.
Get it.
Get it. Get it.
Get it.
Is she gonna get it, Daddy?
She'll get it.
Get it.
When you bring home a Goodwill find, you give your whole town a reason to celebrate because you're also funding local job training and placement programs in tech, healthcare, and more. Goodwill. Bring good home.
leftovers or the DMV
Number 97
or house cleaning or
Chumba Casino always brings the fun. Play over 100 different games online for free from anywhere. You could redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. Live the Chumba life. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
With the Lucky Land Slots, you can get lucky just about anywhere.
This is your captain speaking. We've got clear runway and the weather's fine, but we're just going to circle up here a while and get lucky. No, nothing like that. It's just these cash prizes add up quick. So I suggest you sit back, keep your tray table upright, and start getting lucky.
Play for free at LuckyLandSlots.com. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Leftovers. Or the DMV.
Number 97.
Or house cleaning. Or
Chumba Casino always brings the fun. Play over 100 different games online for free from anywhere. You could redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. Live the Chumba life. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Fraud protection, free credit monitoring, and interest earned on your entire balance with easy access where, when, and how you need it. Get the most bank for your buck with an interest checking account at Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the local bank that cares about you. Ready to bank smarter? Visit gulfbank.com and let's make it happen.
This is what you're looking.
Equal housing and equal opportunity lender. Member FDIC.
Hello, this is the BR Telco operator. How can I assist you today?
Hey, can you tell me why I should bank at BR Telco?
Well, I don't mean to spin the street yarn, but you'd be a monkey's uncle not to bank with us. We do everything the big banks do, plus we've been in the community for over 85 years, and your money stays here in the community, not Wall Street. Any other questions?
Sure, yeah. Could you connect me with Anita Bass, please?
I'm not falling for that one again.
Find out all the reasons you should get to know Telco at brtelco.org. Federally issued by NCUA.
Fraud protection, free credit monitoring, and interest earned on your entire balance with easy access where, when, and how you need it. Get the most bank for your buck with an interest checking account at Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the local bank that cares about you. Ready to bank smarter? Visit gulfbank.com and let's make it happen.
This is what you're looking.
Equal housing and equal opportunity lender. Member FDIC.
leftovers. Or the DMV.
Number 97.
Or house cleaning. Or
Chumba Casino always brings the fun. Play over 100 different games online for free from anywhere. You could redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. Live the Chumba life. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus terms and conditions apply. See website for details. Leftovers. Or the DMV.
Number 97.
Or house cleaning. Chumba Casino always brings the fun. Play over 100 different games online for free from anywhere. You could redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. Live the Chumba life. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Oh boy! Ronald Acuna Jr. with a tape measure shot. Ronald hammers it. It's another two-run homer.
And they hit, they make contact.
There's a deep drive to center. Way back, fire away, big boy. Off the batter's eye.
Ronald Acuna to left. Back is Steer, and the ballpark will not hold it.
Nothing right here.
See what I mean? That is high, that is deep, that is gone. Shohei Ohtani. Spectacular indeed. He's just not real.
Shohei has 119 strikeouts in his 90 innings this year.
Swing and a miss. High fastball at 98. Shohei dials up the gas.
Years ago.
Ohtani hits one in the air, left center field. Hit well. Robert is back, so is Benintendi. It's gone! Shohei Ohtani!
All right, everybody, welcome back to the program. That audio is courtesy of Major League Baseball, and that audio that you heard were the two leading vote getters for this year's Major League Baseball All-Star Game, representing the Atlanta Braves, Ronald Acuna Jr., and, of course, you also heard Los Angeles Angels pitcher and designated hitter Shohei Ohtani doing their thing during the first half of the Major League Baseball season in 2023. To talk more about this year's Major League Baseball All-Star Game and where it's going to be held this year, we want to welcome him back to the program. The guy is a baseball aficionado, and we love having him on the program. Let's welcome him back, Dave Bartley. Hey, Dave, welcome back to the program, my man.
Hey, how you doing, Ed?
Oh, man, all is well, sir. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to be with us on the program. So let's get right to it. You know, we have another Major League Baseball All-Star Game, and certainly the starters starting off for the National League is going to be exciting. I want to start off with talking about the catcher position for a moment. Sean Murphy from the Atlanta Braves making his first All-Star Game. Just give me your thoughts on Sean and making his first All-Star team.
I think Sean Murphy is one of the best catchers in the game today because he not only does what he does offensively, but he also catches defensively very well. He frames pitches well for his pitchers. He quote unquote steals strikes is a term that you'll hear often with catchers. They'll steal strikes for their pitchers. They'll frame pitches that are outside the zone and make them look inside the zone, and that's what Sean Murphy does really well. But his bat has been on fire this year, and you've really seen him climb up the catcher rankings this year because of that. Like he's always been a good defensive catcher, but really the power and the average and the RBIs have really come up this year, and that's why you see him making a start in the All-Star game.
Absolutely, and again, congratulations to Sean on making his first All-Star appearance. And now, first baseman Freddie Freeman representing the Los Angeles Dodgers. This is going to be his 7th All-Star appearance. Now, Dave, we've talked about Freddie for quite a while now. We know what Freddie has brought to the table for so many years, and definitely a player that's still in his prime. So many great seasons with the Atlanta Braves, being a part of that World Series team 2 seasons ago, and now his second year with the LA Dodgers. And again, Freddie doing what Freddie does best. Give me your thoughts on Freddie making another All-Star team.
You know, I'll be honest. I wasn't high on the Dodgers signing Freddie Freeman when they did and giving him so much money. I thought Freddie was going to decline. And, boy, I hate to admit it, but I've been totally wrong on Freddie Freeman. He just continues to be a hitting machine. He's getting a little older. I'm not sure when Father Time will catch up to him, but it's not this year because he's been incredible for the Dodgers, especially amidst all those injuries that they've had in L.A. You know, they're struggling to stay afloat. They're second place in their division currently, but, you know, we all know they have a first-place roster. But it's because of the injuries, and I think the reason they're still in second place is because guys like Freddie Freeman, who have carried the load and really helped out when the Dodgers have been really injured. So my hat's off to Freddie Freeman. He keeps doing it year in and year out, even when I thought, you know, maybe he's towards the end of the line of his career, but no, not this year. He's been great.
Absolutely. And again, kudos to Freddie for making another All-Star game. And I want to move along now to the second base position and Luis Ariz representing the Miami Marlins. Now, Dave, Luis is, he's been an expert on hitting. I mean, the guy has touched 400 on several occasions during the first half of the season. He won a batting title in the American League as a member of the Minnesota Twins last season. This is his first year with the Miami Marlins. He signed a big contract this past the last off season. And I mean, Luis, definitely at the peak of his powers right now in terms of giving us a course on what hitting is all about. Give me your thoughts on Luis making another All-Star team.
You know, back when the Giants and the Marlins, because I'm a huge Giants fan, back when the Giants and Marlins were playing, I was listening to the Giants broadcasters, and they were making comparisons to him and Tony Gwynn. And I was sitting there thinking, man, that's a crazy assumption to make. But then they showed video replays of them side by side, and the swing is almost identical, and the bat path is almost identical, and the way they spray the ball all over the field is identical. And so I made that statement to a couple of friends of mine, and they scoffed at me like I scoffed at the Giants announcers. But if you really look at it, the early part of his career versus what Arise is doing now, Tony Gwynn and Arise have similar numbers. And the way that Arise just spreads the ball all over the field, it doesn't matter where you play him, he can find a hole and get a base hit. He's a lost art that you don't see anymore. He's a pure hitter. It doesn't matter what you pitch him and what count, he can hit the ball. He can make the ball hit the bat and put it anywhere he wants, and that is dangerous. And, I mean, just you were talking about how he's been hitting almost 400 all season. I mean, I think last time I checked he was at 388. This late in the season, that's unreal. We don't see those numbers anymore. And it's only because a guy is a pure hitter like Luis Arraez that he's just able to do that very easily. He makes it look so easy, and I love watching him play.
Yeah, absolutely, Dave. I love watching him play as well. And definitely Luis has so far paid off big dividends for the Miami Marlins as he makes his second All-Star appearance. Let's move over now to the third base position. And we talked about Luis being a throwback in terms of hitting for average. Well, Nolan Arenado. Nolan is making his 8th All-Star appearance representing the Redbirds, the St. Louis Cardinals. And Nolan is somebody that's just been an expert at the third base position and somebody that can hit not only for the home runs but can get you the RBIs as well. Give me your thoughts on Nolan making another All-Star team.
I mean, it's not surprising. Nolan Arenado, I think, is the best, in my opinion, in my personal opinion, is the best defensive third baseman that I've ever seen. And he continues to pile up gold gloves no matter how old he is and where he plays. And, you know, he struggled when he first got to St. Louis a few years ago, but he's really, you know, he's just like a machine. He just keeps putting out the same numbers year in and year out and continues to hit the ball really hard wherever he's at. I mean, I love watching Nolan Arenado play. He's one of those guys that is must-watch television when he's on. Like, he can hit a home run or he can make a crazy barehanded play down the third base line and throw the guy out at first. Like, he's a special talent. No surprise that he's in the All-Star game. His numbers back up his play this year, and he's well-deserved.
Absolutely, and Nolan Arenado is making his 8th All-Star appearance. Let's move over now to the shortstop position. We have Orlando Arcia representing the Atlanta Braves. This is his first All-Star appearance. Again, he's at the shortstop position. Now, when we think of the Braves, we mentioned about Sean Murphy and also some other important parts of the Braves team, which we'll get into in just a little bit. But give me your thoughts on Orlando making his first All-Star team.
Orlando Arcia is one of those guys who, unless you are a Braves fan, you don't know who he is. Well, let me tell you about Orlando Arcia. He's actually been quietly one of the Braves' best players under the radar. He bats at the very bottom of the order, so he sets up Acuna, and he sets up Matt Olson, and he sets up Austin Riley, and he sets up I'm drawing a blank, sorry. But he sets up the top of that lineup.
Albies.
Ozzie Albies, thank you. He sets up the top of that lineup. Top of the lineup can drive him in, and he's been so good this year. And then on top of that, he's one of the best defensive shortstops in the game. So you couple, you know, his offensive production that he's put out for Atlanta at the bottom of that order, which is so valuable because a lot of teams don't have that production at the bottom end of their order, and then you couple that with his defensive abilities, and he's definitely All-Star worthy.
Absolutely, and Orlando makes his first All-Star appearance at the shortstop position representing the Atlanta Braves. Now let's talk about the outfielders now, and I played some of the highlights earlier, and Ronald Acuna Jr. representing the Atlanta Braves making his 4th All-Star appearance, and of course was the leading vote getter for the National League. I mean, hey Dave, he's a dynamo, right? Getting you home runs, getting you RBIs, also stealing bases as well, and also his defense is second to none. Give me your thoughts on Ronald making another All-Star team.
I think you mispronounced his name. His name should be MVP because that's the caliber of player he is, and that's the trajectory he's on because he's going to, mark my words, he's going to be a 40-40 player this year. That's 40 home runs and 40 stolen bases, and you got to turn back the clock a long ways to find a guy who had a 40-40 season. Matt Kemp almost did it back in the early 2010s with the Dodgers, but maybe it might have been a little bit before that. But we haven't seen a guy like Ronald Acuna in a long, long time. I mean, it's amazing what Shohei Ohtani does in the American League, but if you look at what Acuna does in the National League, it's unbelievable. This guy is so talented. And then on top of that, you couple that with a cannon arm in right field, because he's playing right field this year for the Braves. He has multiple throws of over 100 miles an hour to the bases to go along with several outfield assists. So he's a dynamo player, like you said, and I think he's on track for an MVP this year.
Oh, most definitely. And like you said, Dave, he's got the potential to have a 40-40 season with the 40 home runs and the 40 stolen bases. So Ronald Acuna Jr., the leading vote getter in the National League, making his fourth All-Star appearance. We talk about dynamo players, and certainly a player that we're witnessing in their prime right now, making his seventh All-Star team, Mookie Betts, representing the Los Angeles Dodgers. And, Dave, you mentioned about Ronald possibly being an MVP candidate this year for the National League. You got to throw Mookie Betts in there as well. I mean, what a first half of the year that he has had. Give me your thoughts on Mookie making another All-Star team.
I mean, it's not surprising. Mookie is as Mookie goes, so does the Dodgers. I mean, Freddie Freeman doesn't have the season that he's having if Mookie Betts isn't setting him up. And so you got to give a lot of props to Mookie Betts. He still plays spectacular outfield, but this season it's a twist. He's playing shortstop more than he's playing outfield for the Dodgers this season. So it's crazy that he's so versatile. They could put him at second base, they can put him at shortstop, they can put him anywhere in the outfield, and he still plays at an all-star caliber level. And then at the plate, he's just a monster. He's a menace to deal with, and it's no surprise he's an all-star. He's doing more in this season with the Dodgers than I ever thought he would do as far as his versatility. So that's just an added bonus for the Dodgers as they continue to get all the value for Mookie Betts that they envisioned when they signed him.
Absolutely, and I tell you what, the Dodgers made a steal in signing Mookie Betts, and so Mookie makes his seventh All-Star appearance. And concluding in the outfield, making his first All-Star game, the rookie representing the Arizona Diamondbacks, Corbin Carroll. What a season that Corbin has had for Arizona. Give me your thoughts on Corbin making his first All-Star team.
I mean, this kid is special. He may not have the wow factor of a Ronald Acuna Jr., but he plays very similarly, where he plays stellar defense. He's got a good arm, but he's kind of like a lefty version of Ronald Acuna, just maybe a little less than that. I don't want to give him too much credit, but he's got pop in his bat. He's the engine of the Arizona Diamondbacks. I mean, the Arizona Diamondbacks are sitting on top of the NL West because of a guy like Corbin Carroll, who's been carrying them all season. Now, I'm not sure if he's going to actually start the game because he hurt himself the other night swinging the bat. I think it might have been last night. It actually hurt his shoulder, so we may not see him start this game. We may not even see him in the game, but he does get the nod. He gets the credit for the All-Star game appearance because he was voted in. But he's going to be a special talent for the Diamondbacks, and I'm sure the Diamondbacks fans are thrilled that he's on their team, because I know as a fan of an NL West team, watching him face, my favorite team, he's a headache, and that's always high praise from your opposing fan bases, I guess.
Absolutely, and certainly kudos to Corbin Carroll from the Arizona Diamondbacks on making his first All-Star team. And rounding out the starters, at the designated hitter position, we have J.D. Martinez from the Los Angeles Dodgers. This is going to be his sixth All-Star appearance. We know about the great seasons that J.D. had with the Boston Red Sox. I mean, when you talk about an epitome of playing the designated hitter position, one of the first names that comes to my mind is J.D. Martinez. Give me your thoughts on J.D. making another All-Star team.
J.D. Martinez, to me, is like a fine wine, and he's just gotten better as he's gotten older. I remember when he was with the Tigers, and he was a former Diamondback, then he goes to Boston. I mean, he's one of the few guys in Major League Baseball history that has a 4-home run game on his resume. and he did that against the Dodgers at Dodger Stadium. So now that he's a Dodger, I kind of find that ironic. But he's been so good this season for the Dodgers, and one of the reasons why they're still in the mix, him and Freddie Freeman and Mookie Betts, all their all-stars have really propelled them to stay afloat in that division because they've been struggling to stay healthy this year. A lot of injuries to their pitching staff, but thanks to guys like J.D. Martinez and their other all-stars, they've remained in the hunt, and J.D. is just so deserving of this honor this year, and I'm surprised that he's still just mashing the baseball, as he's getting into his, I guess, what you would call your senior years as a baseball player. He's just unbelievable talent, and I'm excited for him. I really like J.D. Martinez as a baseball player.
Absolutely, Dave. I like him as a baseball player as well. And again, congratulations to JD on making another all-star team representing the Los Angeles Dodgers. All right, so we took care of the starters for the National League. Let's go to the reserves. The catcher position, we have Elias Diaz making his first all-star team representing the Colorado Rockies, and then we have Will Smith representing the Los Angeles Dodgers, also making his first all-star team. Just give me your thoughts on Elias and Will making an all-star team.
I mean, let's start with Diaz at Colorado. Colorado, I mean, one of the things of the all-star game is every team is represented. So as bad as Colorado's been, it's hard to really look at their roster and say, hey, they really have a deserving all-star. But if you were to look at their roster, their best player so far this season has been Diaz behind the plate. He's a serviceable defensive catcher, but his hitting has really come a long way. And I can't remember his stats right off the top of my head, but last time I checked a couple weeks ago, he was up near 300 and hitting the ball well. So I think he's the deserving member of the Colorado Rockies to represent them in the All-Star game. And then, I mean, you just look at Will Smith and the year he's had. He had a little stint on the concussion IL, but other than that, like, man, that guy is unbelievable, handling the pitching staff the way he does, and then just mashing the baseball all over the field. That guy's a special talent. It takes a guy like Sean Murphy to displace Will Smith as the All-Star game starter, because I think Will Smith, for me, is the best catcher in the National League. And the fact that Sean Murphy displaced him as the starter just tells you how good Sean Murphy's been. So I think both guys are deserving. I think Will Smith is obviously one of the best catchers in the National League.
Rightfully so. And again, congratulations to Elias and Will on making their first all-star teams. Now, Dave, I'm going to show off a little bias for a moment. At the first base position, he plays for my favorite team, the New York Mets, and making his third all-star appearance. Pete Maravich was known as Pistol Pete, but I'm going to call Pete Alonso Power Pete, because this gentleman has been hitting home runs, and, he provides the power for the team out of Queens, the New York Mets. Give me your thoughts on Pete making another all-star team.
Well, his nickname is actually Polar Pete, because he's built like a polar bear, and he swings a bat like one, too. Pete Alonso is arguably the best power hitter in the game today. I mean, him and Aaron Judge, you could throw in that conversation too. When they barrel a baseball, the baseball is not coming back. That's how good Pete Alonso is. That's how good Aaron Judge is too. When they square up the baseball, it flies, and it flies a long, long way. And I'm excited because Pete Alonso announced that he's coming back for the Home Run Derby. So I'm excited to see him jump in the box for the Home Run Derby. I think he's going to be one of the favorites of the Derby. He's already a two-time winner. That just tells you more about his power. But he's a great first baseman. One of the catalysts for that Mets team when they are going right. Unfortunately, they haven't been going right all that often this year. But when they are going right, Pete Alonso is one of the catalysts of that team. So, and I love watching Pete Alonso just mash baseball. So I'm excited for him. He's a great player.
I'm excited as well for Pete making another all-star team. And the Mets have had their troubles in more ways than one during this first half. And we've seen the owner of the team, Steve Cohen, at the press conference. But hopefully maybe this could be something could jumpstart him in the second half. But nevertheless, Pete Alonso making another all-star team representing the New York Mets. All right, also at the first base position, we have Matt Olson from the Atlanta Braves, making his second All-Star appearance. We know Matt and his power. And at the second base position, Ozzie Albies, combination of power, speed, and the defense, making his third All-Star team. And at the third base position, Austin Riley, also representing the Atlanta Braves. This is going to be his second All-Star appearance. Give me your thoughts on Matt, Ozzie, and Austin making another All-Star team.
I mean, there's a reason why the Braves are way out in first place, and it's because they have a ton of All-Stars on that team. Like, their entire infield is All-Stars. From the catcher, first base, second base, third base, shortstop, all All-Stars. And you can make cases for some other, like, you can make a case for Ozuna, too, who's their DH. He had a rough start to the season, but he's been on fire the last 2 months. And had he not had a bad April, I think he'd be on this roster, too. So, the Atlanta Braves are stacked, and there's no surprise. Like, there's no surprise there. They're stacked with talent, and that's why they're out in first place. And all three of these guys contribute. Matt Olson has just been crushing home runs all season. Ozzie Albies has really been hot the last month, and he's a great switch hitter, so he's able to do it from both sides of the plate. And then Austin Riley is just pure power down in that hot corner, and he plays stellar defense too. So it's no surprise that the Braves are so far out in first place, and the reason is because they have so many All-Stars on their team, and it's not just on their infield and their position players. They have All-Star pitchers, which I'm sure we'll get to soon.
Absolutely, and again, kudos to Matt, Ozzie, and Austin for making another All-Star team. Now, at the shortstop position, he won't be playing due to injury, but he makes a second All-Star appearance. Dansby Swanson from the Chicago Cubs. 2 years ago, Dansby was a part of that big-time Atlanta Braves World Series run, and now he's with the Chicago Cubs. And again, this is his second All-Star appearance. Again, not playing due to injury, but just give me your thoughts on Dansby making another All-Star team.
It's no surprise. Dansby Swanson is one of those young, up-and-coming stars in Major League Baseball. Just imagine what the Braves would be had they re-signed him. You know, might be even better than they are, and that's really crazy thing to say. But Dansby Swanson has been a real key player for the Cubs this season. The Cubs are still struggling as far as their back end of their pitching goes, but they're hitting along with Bellinger's having a comeback season. Dansby Swanson has been playing great, obviously, and then Nico Horner. Those three guys have really been propelling that Cubs offense. But Dansby Swanson is, he not only provides the bat, but he provides the glove too and the arm, and he's stellar at shortstop. So no surprise that Dansby makes this All-Star team. I'm sad that he's not going to be able to play. We won't get to see his talent, but he's well-deserved for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And Dansby definitely, as we mentioned earlier, was a key part of that Atlanta Braves World Series team 2 seasons ago, and now he's doing this thing with the Chicago Cubs. Now, his replacement at the shortstop position, making his first All-Star team, will be Geraldo Perdomo, representing the Arizona Diamondbacks. Give me your thoughts on Geraldo making his first All-Star team.
This one kind of surprised me a little bit, I'm not going to lie. I think the Diamondbacks deserve to have more representatives in the All-Star game because of where they sit in the standings. But this one kind of shocked me. I think there's a couple of there's a couple other guys I may have chosen over Perdomo, but I'm not saying that Perdomo doesn't deserve to be there. He's had an okay season. It's not a blow-away season. He's not leading the league shortstops in any categories. He's not blowing you off the charts, but he's had a really solid season for a really solid team. So it surprises me that he got picked over a few other players, but is he deserving? Yeah. I mean, he got picked because he's had a great season. So kudos to him. Excited to see what he does.
You know what? I want to stay just with this pick for a moment, Dave. I think we talked about a player that plays in Queens representing the New York Mets is Pete Alonso. He has a teammate that wears number 12. I think it's Francisco Lindor. I think Lindor should have been on this roster. What do you think about that?
I think there's a couple of guys I would have chosen over Perdomo. Lindor being one of them. I would have loved to see any one of the guys on the Cincinnati Reds, one of the young cats, come up and take this roster spot because they've been on fire, and I think they're the most exciting team to watch in Major League Baseball today. So I'm a little disappointed that none of those young guys got that call. But, yeah, definitely Francisco Lindor. Why is he was one of the biggest snubs on the All-Star team. I'm surprised he's not there. I'm surprised that, maybe Tatis didn't get this spot, because Tatis is a young star, and he even though he got suspended for PEDs and came back, later in April, he still statistically is right up there with everybody else, even though he had almost a month off. So there's a couple, like I said, there was a couple of guys that I would have chosen over Perdomo, and I think Lindor is obviously on that list too. And it's sad when the best player, like obviously Lindor is way better than Perdomo, and he's had a way better season, but for some reason he's not going to be at the All-Star game. I think that's the problem with the All-Star game, is that it sometimes is a popularity contest, and I guess Perdomo is more popular right now in the eyes of the coaches that are making these decisions for the reserves. So I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. I would have picked anybody but Perdomo. I would have had a couple other choices, but yeah, I think I would have picked Lindor over all of them.
Yeah, rightfully so. And those two names we talked about with Francisco Lindor and, of course, Fernando Tatis Jr. out of San Diego. And you talked about the Cincinnati Reds, Ellie De La Cruz. I mean, boy, what a sensation he's been recently, hitting for the cycle. I mean, you could have had your pick, but nevertheless, Geraldo Perdomo represents the Arizona Diamondbacks for his first All-Star appearance. All right, let's get to the outfield now. We have Nick Castellanos representing the Philadelphia Phillies, his second All-Star appearance. We also have Lourdes Gurriel Jr. from the Arizona Diamondbacks, his first All-Star appearance. And the San Diego Padres, Juan Soto, his third All-Star appearance. Give me your thoughts on Nick, Lourdes, and Juan making the All-Star team.
I think all of them are deserving. I think all of them deserve to be there because of what they've done with the bats. I mean, all three of them are really talented hitters. Castellanos is just really improved from his tally from last year. Like, his numbers at this point in the season this year are almost identical for the entire season of last year. So the fact that he's really stepped up and turned it around, I think he's a deserving representative of the Phillies. Gurriel Jr. is one of those guys anchoring the Diamondbacks just like Corbin Carroll is. So I think that was a no-brainer for me. I think he deserves to be there. And then obviously, you talk about a guy like Juan Soto, one of the best young players in baseball, is always on base. I think he leads the league in walks, if I'm not mistaken, but he's always on base. And the last couple of weeks, he's really turned it on with his bat too, hitting home runs, getting back to the Juan Soto that we know and love. So glad to see him there too. But yeah, all three of these guys definitely deserve to be there.
Absolutely, and that takes care of our outfield for the reserves. And then finally, at the designated hitter position, Jorge Soler, representing the Miami Marlins, making his first All-Star appearance. Now, Dave, Jorge was so significant in the Houston Astros winning the World Series last season. I mean, he turned it up and turned it on in a major way. And again, when we talk about the designated hitter position, one of the names that comes to mind is Jorge Soler. Give me your thoughts on Jorge making his first All-Star appearance.
I think it's so well-deserved, and it's rewarding a team like the Miami Marlins for really surprising everybody, because the Marlins in years past, have been towards the bottom of the NL East. They usually only have one representative. Well, we already talked about Arise representing the Marlins, and now you get to add, a guy like Soler, who has been absolutely on fire all season long, just crushing the baseball. He's been on a home run tear for that team, and obviously leading that team in home runs. But I love Jorge Soler. I love that he just is 100% every time he swings the bat, no matter if it's a little dribbler down the line for an infield single or he hits it 450 feet for a home run. That guy gives it his all every time, and I'm glad he finally gets an All-Star game now, because he's a really talented player.
Absolutely, and certainly Jorge definitely deserving of it, making his first All-Star game. All right, we've got the pitchers now for the National League. So we've got David Bednar making his second All-Star game, representing the Pittsburgh Pirates. We also have Alexis Diaz representing currently the red-hot Cincinnati Reds. first All-Star appearance for him. Also, we have Camilo Duvall representing your San Francisco Giants, making his first All-Star game. And then we have Bryce Elder representing the Atlanta Braves in his first All-Star game. Just give me your thoughts on those gentlemen making their first All-Star appearance.
Well, the closers are not really a surprise. You know, you can kind of go look at the statistical leaders in saves and kind of pick your All-Star guys from there. And I think that's kind of what they've done here. Although I'm not saying that none of those guys deserve it. They've all had fantastic seasons, but I think one of the reasons they're on the team is because you can look at the save leaders and say, okay, these guys have really stepped it up and really, you know, knocked down their saves this year. So they definitely deserve to be there. I think the Giants only having Duvall as I'm gonna be a bias for a second. The Giants only having Camilo Duvall as their representative for the All-Star game is a travesty. I think Lamont Wade Jr. and J.D. Davis both deserve to be on that roster too, but and Logan Webb. But that's just my 2 cents as far as my bias goes. But yeah, all three of those guys are really solid closers for their teams. You know, when the ninth inning comes and those teams have a lead, those guys are locking down saves. I'm glad to see Bednar get the replacement for Kershaw because, you know, I think he really deserved it. And I was surprised when he was snubbed the first time around. And then you had mentioned Bryce Elder, right? Bryce Elder is really come on and really surprised a ton of people, including myself. He was slated to be the odd man out in that Braves rotation. He was slated to be the sixth guy. But because, you know, guys in front of him got hurt and guys in front of him struggled, he really kicked down the door. And he's not going to blow you away with his stuff. Like, he's got good, you know, sinking action, got a good changeup. But he locates well, and he gets ground balls, and he lets his defense play in front of him. And when you have your entire infield as All-Star game or participating in the All-Star game, then you let them work, and that's what he's done. He's done it all year long. He's pitched really, really well, surprised a lot of people, and I think he absolutely deserves to be there.
Absolutely, and kudos to those gentlemen for making another All-Star team, or Alexis, Camilo, and Bryce specifically making their first All-Star appearance. And I'm with you on this one. Logan Webb definitely deserves to be on that team. Unfortunately, got snubbed. But let's move along now, too. We've got Zach Gallen making his first All-Star appearance representing the Arizona Diamondbacks, and Josiah Gray representing the Washington Nationals making his first All-Star game. Just give me your thoughts on Zach and Josiah in their first All-Star game.
Both deserving. Zach Gallen is so nasty for the Diamondbacks. He's their ace. He's one of the reasons why they're at the top of the NL West. He is, I mean, you could throw all the nasty adjectives, filthy, nasty, disgusting. Any of those things when you're talking about a pitcher is great, and I will gladly use all those terms for Zach Gallen. He's a monster. If you're in the batter's box, you don't want to see him on the mound. That's for sure. He's been so good for the Diamondbacks, well deserved. And who was the other guy you mentioned?
Also mentioned Josiah Gray from the Washington Nationals.
Josiah Gray, right. So Josiah Gray has actually had quietly a really good season for the Nationals. His ERA is in the mid-threes, which is surprising for, you know, the team that he plays on. You think the Nationals, you know, aren't really talented. And they're just really young. If you remember, Josiah Gray was the big-name prospect that got sent over to the Nationals in that Dodgers trade for Scherzer and Trey Turner. So it's good to see his name on this All-Star roster. He's really pitching well for the Nationals, and it really makes, you know, all the experts right, because they had him pinned as a potential All-Star, and here he is. You know, he's making his first All-Star game appearance.
Absolutely, and big ups to Zach and Josiah making their first All-Star games. All right, closing pitchers. When you talk about one of the best in the business, Josh Hader representing the San Diego Padres making his fifth All-Star game. Give me your thoughts on Josh making another All-Star team.
Josh Hader has been one of the greatest closers for the last, 5 or 6 years. But last year, he really imploded. And you thought, well, is this the end of Josh Hader? Is this the end of his confidence? Is this the end of that moxie that you need, you know, entering the ninth inning of a game? And then he quietly told everybody to shut up, because he's got it. He's He's right back where he was with the Brewers before he came to San Diego. Right back in the same. He's putting up the same similar numbers to what he was doing before. So it's no surprise that Josh Hader is part of this All-Star roster. He's really turned it around from his little debacle last year.
Rightfully so. He had a tough going last year, as you said, Dave, but really improved this year. And again, congratulations to Josh on making another All-Star team. All right, we've got Mitch Keller from the Pittsburgh Pirates making his first All-Star team. We've also got Justin Steele from the Chicago Cubs making his first All-Star team. Give me your thoughts on Mitch and Justin.
Well, I've been praising Mitch Keller from the beginning of the season. I'm in a fantasy baseball league with a bunch of my friends, and I picked up Mitch Keller very early in the season, and he's paid off dividends for my fantasy team. But he's been really, really strong for the Pirates. He was their opening day starter, and he didn't shine, he didn't dazzle on opening day, but after that, he turned himself into one of the best pitchers in the National League, and has really put up solid numbers for the Pirates. And so to see his name on this list is no surprise to me. I've been preaching his praises all season to anybody that would listen. And then I'm sorry, who was the other guy?
And the other person is Justin Steele from the Chicago Cubs.
Justin Steele, right. This guy has actually come out of nowhere. I mean, you combine him and Marcus Stroman for Chicago, and they've really been dealing for the Cubs. But that 1-2 punch has been probably one of the best 1-2 punches in baseball this season. And for Justin Steele to be an all-star, it really tells you, like, he's really turned it on this year, and really nobody expected it. His previous year's numbers don't compare to what he's done this year. He's done a complete 180 and really turned himself into a reliable starter for the Cubs and a dominant starter. He's been so good. And so he definitely deserves to be in Seattle for the All-Star game.
Absolutely, and big ups to Mitch and Justin on making their first All-Star games. Clayton Kershaw, again, will not play in the All-Star game, of course, due to injury, but he's making his 10th All-Star appearance. And when it's all said and done, Clayton representing the Los Angeles Dodgers. Dave, when it's all said and done, Clayton is definitely going to be a future first ballot Hall of Famer. And again, still adding on to the legacy and doing great things for what the Dodgers have done so far in this first half of the year. Give me your thoughts on Clayton selected to another All-Star team.
Clayton is just like, he's the pitching version of J.D. Martinez, just gets better with age. And that's a crazy thing to say about Clayton Kershaw, because he's been the best pitcher in baseball for, this generation. And so you think, he had some years where they were down. Well, his down year was better than most guys' up years. So that's one thing to say. And then you look at his numbers this year, and it's like, who is this guy, and where did he come from? Like, this guy is just unbelievable. Unfortunately, injuries have really derailed his career a little bit. I think, he could have been, one of the best ever, like at the very top of the heap, when it's all said and done. But unfortunately, I think injuries have really brought him down a few notches. But, for me being a Giants fan and having to watch him face us so many times and having to watch him dominate our team so many times, you can respect the greatness when you see it, and I definitely respect Clayton Kershaw because he's one of, if not the best pitcher of this generation. And, I'm glad to see his name on the All-Star team again. I'm sad also to see him not being able to participate because of injuries again, but hopefully, he can just spend a little time on the DL, get himself right, and be back in action for the second half of the season.
Absolutely, yeah. Clayton is still one of the best in the business, and I'm like you, Dave. I'm hoping he can bounce back, get off the disabled list, and get back to the Clayton Kershaw that we've known and loved for so long. And speaking of being like a fine wine, better with time, we move along to the future. And boy, what a campaign for the first half of the year for Spencer Strider. You talking about throwing fastballs like nobody's business, representing the Atlanta Braves. First All-Star game. I mean, Spencer's had a great first half. Give me your thoughts on Spencer making an All-Star team.
No surprise for me. Like, watching some of his games this year, you could just see he's got a lot of power in the bottom half of his body. He's built like a NFL running back in the lower part of his body. He's got these huge thighs and huge calves, and that's where he generates a lot of his power from. And you could see, it's just the arm talent is there too. So you combine everything together, and you get like a well-oiled machine. And he's just been mowing down guys at the plate, and he's got wicked stuff. So not surprised that he's part of the All-Star Game festivities this weekend. And I think it's well deserved. He's going to be an all-star for years to come too. He's part of a super talented group of guys in Atlanta, and I think you'll see his name a lot on All-Star Game rosters in the future.
Most definitely. The future's definitely bright for Spencer Strider, representing the Atlanta Braves, making his first All-Star team, And Devin Williams, Devin has been solid since he's been in the major leagues. He's a former National League Rookie of the Year. And, again, he's been doing great things with the Milwaukee Brewers. This is his second All-Star appearance. Give me your thoughts on Devin making another All-Star team.
Devin Williams had the impossible job of replacing a guy named Josh Hader in Milwaukee. He was Josh Hader's setup guy while Josh Hader was in Milwaukee. And when they were both in Milwaukee, it was a wicked 8th inning, 9th inning combo for those two. But when Hader left to San Diego, that job became Devin Williams' job, and he's been just as good. I mean, Devin Williams has one of the nastiest changeups in baseball, and he uses it often to go along with like a 96, 97 mile an hour fastball. So he's taken an impossible position to be in, and he's made the best of it, and he's turned himself into an all-star closer for the Brewers. And I love watching Devin pitch because that changeup is wicked nasty. So glad to see him in the All-Star game.
Absolutely, and that's Devin making his second All-Star team. And finally, Marcus Stroman, representing the Chicago Cubs, making his second All-Star appearance. And again, I'm showing a little bias here, but I loved Marcus when he played for the New York Mets and definitely showed a lot of promise with the Mets and now with the Chicago Cubs. And, man, what a first half of the year that he's having for the team from the north side of Chicago that plays at Wrigley Field. Give me your thoughts on Marcus making another All-Star team.
Marcus Stroman is one of my favorite players because he's not your average baseball player. He's a short guy, but he's got a ton of heart, a ton of swag, a ton of moxie. Put all those favorite baseball adjectives into one guy, and you get Marcus Stroman. I love Marcus Stroman, and I'm so glad. I always knew he had the talent to be this good. I'm so glad he's finally putting it all together for the Cubs. And I mean, if I had to give it a first half Cy Young award, I think I'd have to give it to Marcus Stroman. He's been that good for the Cubs, just been dominant. And that's not a term that you would use with Marcus Stroman in years past, but he's been dominant this year, and it looks like he's turned a corner, and he's not going back. He's been so good this year, and I'm so glad that he's like I said, he's one of my favorite players not on my team. And so I'm glad to see him get the success in Chicago this year.
Absolutely, and that takes care of Marcus Stroman making his second All-Star team, and that takes care of the National League roster. All right, let's move over now to the American League, and we have our starters. Starting off at the catcher position, we have Jonah Heim representing the Texas Rangers. This is his first All-Star appearance. Give me your thoughts on Jonah making the All-Star team.
And Jonah Heim is been really good for the Rangers. I mean, the Rangers in general have been really good from top to bottom, and so it's no surprise that their backstop gets the nod for the All-Star game. I believe I read today somewhere that the Rangers have a record for most All-Star game starters. They tie the record for 5 starters this year. So it just tells you how deep they are and how good they've been this season. And Jonah Heim is no slouch behind the plate. He's great defensively. He's been killer with the bat. So it's not a shock to me that Jonah Heim's representing the American League in the All-Star game. I think right now he's one of the front runners for Rookie of the Year.
All right, solid and rightfully so. So that takes care of Jonah Heim representing the Texas Rangers at the catcher position, his first All-Star team. All right, also making his first All-Star team representing the Tampa Bay Rays at the first base position, Yandy Diaz. Give me your thoughts on Yandy making his first All-Star team.
I mean, it's incredible that the Rays can just take guys and plug them into their lineup, and they just produce. And Yandy's one of those guys who, Cleveland. He was on Cleveland for a couple of years when he first came up, and Cleveland kind of gave up on him, and then the Rays took a chance, and he's really coming to his own, especially this year. Really sparking that offense, especially the first couple of months where the Rays were far and away the best team in baseball, and part of that was because of the All-Star guys that they have coming to Seattle. I mean, him and Randy Arozarena have really catapulted that team, especially that offense this year, and I'm glad to see that Yandy Diaz is really putting it together. I mean, he's got a OPS of almost 900, which is, once you started getting into 900, you're talking elite status. So the fact that Yandy Diaz is still having elite numbers, and we're in July now, I mean, he's having a special season.
Rightfully so, and certainly congratulations to Yandy on making his first All-Star team. So we move along now to second base, third base, and the shortstop position. Starting off at second base, Marcus Semien from the Texas Rangers. This is his second All-Star appearance. And Dave, Marcus Semien, for those that may not be familiar with his days when he played for the Oakland A's, he was sensational. And now coming over to Texas, and certainly the bat's been swinging for the Rangers. And at the third base position, we have rookie Josh Jung representing the Texas Rangers, his first All-Star appearance. And at the shortstop position, making his fourth All-Star team, Corey Seager from the Texas Rangers. If you knew about Corey, what he did with the LA Dodgers, he's brought some of that magic to the Texas Rangers. Give me your thoughts on Marcus, Josh, and Corey making an All-Star team.
So I gotta backtrack a little bit. I called Jonah Heim Rookie of the Year status. Who I was thinking was Josh Jung, the third baseman, because Jonah Heim's been in the league for a couple of years. Sorry. So my thoughts on these three is the reason Texas is having such a great year is because these three have been absolutely crushing the ball. And you throw their other All-Star, Adolis Garcia, in the mix too. It's been a really potent offense in Texas, and they've really put it together this year. I mean, Marcus Semien is having a tremendous season with the Rangers now that he's signed for his big contract, and so is Seager. They were both big names that they brought in last season, and they both kind of struggled last year, but not this year. And then you add in Josh Jung, who's their rookie third baseman, and he's come out of nowhere. He's the guy I think is leading the charge in the Rookie of the Year race in the American League. He's just been so good to be so young and to just play like he's been up here for forever. It's really been good to see the Rangers really stick it to the Astros in that division this year. So I'm glad to see that they are well represented in the American League.
Absolutely, and that takes care of Marcus Semien, Josh Jung, and Corey Seager representing the Texas Rangers, making the All-Star team. And let's get to the outfield now. And I think this is long overdue, but Randy Arozarena representing the Tampa Bay Rays, making his first All-Star team. We knew about Randy during the pandemic year or the COVID year with the shortened season and Tampa Bay playing in the World Series, and we saw the promise and the potential with Randy. And also in the outfield, he won't be playing due to injury, but Aaron Judge. What can you say about him, right? Representing the New York Yankees. This is his fifth All-Star appearance. And, again, this gentleman will not be playing due to injury, representing the Los Angeles Angels. Mike Trout. This is his 11th All-Star appearance. Trout, Judge, once-in-a-lifetime talents, and then Arozarena makes his first All-Star appearance. Give me your thoughts on those gentlemen selected to the All-Star team.
Let's start with Arozarena because I'm as shocked as you are that this is his first All-Star game appearance. I mean, this guy has consistently put up good numbers since being part of that Rays team and leading into the World Series in that COVID year. I'm shocked that this is his first All-Star game, but it's definitely deserved. He's been on fire for that team all season long, and he's a feared batter in the American League now that he's just been so consistent for them. And then Mike Trout and Aaron Judge. I mean, those two guys are once in a generation talents, and it's sad to see, injuries have been a problem for both of them. And so you see, injuries cut into Mike Trout's season yet again. This is going to be a 4 to 8 week, injury with a broken wrist from swinging the bat. And then Aaron Judge, has been out for the last couple of weeks and is tracking towards the end of this month to come back. But when he crashed into the wall at Dodger Stadium, it caused problems for him. So it's sad to see that both of those guys are not going to be playing. But their replacements that they announced today that are going to be taking their spot are well-deserved in Adolis Garcia for the Rangers and Austin Hayes for the Orioles. I mean, both of those guys have had terrific seasons for their clubs. And, I mean, the Orioles, let's talk about the Orioles for a second. That team, even though Tampa Bay has been, the best team in baseball, or at least the best team in the American League for the first, couple months of the season, right on their tails is the Baltimore Orioles, the young, energetic Baltimore Orioles who are led by, guys like Austin Hayes and Adley Rutschman, which I'm sure we'll talk about later. But it's like going back to this point. I mean, it's sad to see Mike Trout and Aaron Judge not in the game, but glad to see young talent like Garcia and Hayes get a chance to replace him.
Yeah, you're right about that. And certainly, again, for the outfield, we have, of course, congratulations to Randy Arozarena. And, of course, even though these two gentlemen won't be playing, but Aaron Judge and Mike Trout for making another all-star team. Now, Dave, we talked about generational talents of Aaron Judge and Mike Trout. At the designated hitter position, Shohei Ohtani, the talent was, they talked about him in Japan. So many great seasons playing in the Japanese league. He comes over to America playing for the Los Angeles Angels, an immediate impact. This is his third All-Star appearance. I mean, he wreaked havoc during the month of June. And, Shohei, again, one of those once-in-a-lifetime talents. Give me your thoughts on Shohei making another All-Star team.
Man, where do I start? Shohei, I don't think is a generational talent. I think he's a unicorn. He's a guy that's going to come around once every 100 years, like a Babe Ruth, like a guy you're not going to see. We probably won't see the likes of Shohei Ohtani for the rest of our lives. Like, once Shohei Ohtani leaves baseball, I don't think we'll see another player do what Shohei Ohtani does right now for the rest of our lives. He may happen, in our grandchildren's lives, but not in our lives. I think Shohei Ohtani is a unicorn in that respect. What he does is unbelievable. To be, I think, let's say a top 20 hitter, I think is being fair to him in baseball, and then a top 20 pitcher too. Like, that's, and then to couple them both together where you're striking out 10 guys that, in an outing and you're hitting 2 home runs in the same game is just, it hurts my mind to even think about it, because I know it's not something that's easily done. And the reason it hasn't been done for 100 years is because it's really hard to do. And this guy goes out there every night and, every 6 days to pitch on the pitching rubber, and he does it and he makes it look easy. And he's got nasty pitches to go along with it. It's not that he's not just going up there and blowing guys away with 100 miles an hour. He's got one of the nastiest splitters in baseball. He's got a good slider. He's got good pitches that are in his repertoire too. And, to do that with a full load of having to hit in the cage every day and going out in the lineup as a DH every day. And then on top of that, you have to, throw in some bullpen work during the week. Like, just think of all the work it takes for Shohei Ohtani to be great, and he makes it look so easy. This guy is a once in 100 years, he's a unicorn type player. I don't think we'll see the likes of him ever again. But I'm glad, as a baseball fan, that I get to sit here and enjoy it while I can, because it's been so fun to watch.
Yeah, you're right about that, Dave. A talent like his only comes once every 100 years, and we have to enjoy it as baseball fans. And certainly, Shohei Ohtani is definitely at the peak of his powers, becoming being a global phenomenon, playing for the Los Angeles Angels, and he's the designated hitter, making his third All-Star appearance. All right, let's get to the reserves, and let's start off at the catcher position. He's been one of my favorite players for a long time now. Salvador Perez, representing the Kansas City Royals, making his 8th All-Star appearance. And you mentioned his name earlier, Adley Rutschman, representing the Baltimore Orioles. What a great first half of the year that Baltimore has had, making his first All-Star appearance. Give me your thoughts on Salvador and Adley making an All-Star team.
I think we're at the point now in Sal Perez's career where he still provides value to the Kansas City Royals because he is their most tenured player. He is the captain. He is the catcher. He's the guy in Kansas City. But Kansas City has been so bad this year that, when it comes down to selecting somebody for the All-Star game, you got to pick somebody. And Sal Perez is not having that great of a season. I mean, his numbers are average across the board. But I think, he's an all-star player because of what he brings to that team as far as leadership goes, and he's still one of the best defensive catchers in baseball. So I think that's why he gets the nod. He's a popular Kansas City Royal, so not surprised that he's in the All-Star game. And then Adley Rutschman, man, that kid, goodness gracious, this kid is unbelievable. Him and Josh Jung for the Rangers are going to be in the Rookie of the Year conversation. Adley Rutschman has been a pure talent since his days at Oregon State, and I knew when I watched him then that he was going to be a special talent. He's a switch hitting catcher, and he does it all. He hits for power, he hits for average, he drives in runs, and then he's a great defensive minded catcher too. So you're getting all the best things, all the best attributes rolled into one guy. And that guy's Adley Rutschman. So he's going to be a star in Baltimore for years to come, and he's going to anchor that team. And that's why Baltimore is in the position they are in the AL East, the toughest division in baseball. It's because of guys like Adley Rutschman just really producing behind the dish.
Absolutely, and definitely Adley's been doing his thing in this first half of the year. Like you said, Dave, he's definitely going to be, the potential is there for years to come. And, of course, big ups to Salvador Perez on making another All-Star team. All right, first base, second base, and third base. Let's start off with the first base position. We talk about one of the top power hitters in Major League Baseball, representing the Toronto Blue Jays, making his third All-Star game, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. I mean, you talk about power on top of power. That's what Vlad brings to the table. At the second base position, his teammate from Toronto, making his third All-Star team, Whit Merrifield. You talk about someone not only providing defense, but also with the base stealing as well. And at the third base position, representing the Cleveland Guardians, making his fifth All-Star game, Jose Ramirez. You talk about a guy that has the solid defense but also provides a lot of power. That's what Jose brings to the table. Give me your thoughts on Vladimir, Whit, and Jose making the All-Star team.
I think Vladdy Jr. and J-Ram, those two guys are no-brainers, man. They are the best at their position, best on their team, and are just unbelievable talents. And I think they're absolute studs and absolute stars for their teams and at their position. So but the thing that was shocking to me was I was reading a stat the other day where Vladdy Jr. hadn't hit a home run at home, or he had one home run at home all season leading up to towards the end of June. And I was like, that can't be a stat. And then the next couple of days he hits like 2 or 3 home runs at home to change that stat. But I was like, wow, that's a weird stat for Vladdy because he usually crushes at Toronto. But yeah, Vladdy and J-Ram are great, talented players, both studs at their position. The one name on both rosters, the American League and National League rosters, that made me scratch my head was Whit Merrifield. Now, not saying Whit's not a great player, but he's having a down season compared to where he's been in seasons past. I think the reason he gets odd for the American League here is because there's really no other second baseman to choose from. So, like I said, I think Whit is a great player, but I think the lack of depth for the American League at second base is the reason that Whit Merrifield's in this game, because I don't think he has the numbers that are worthy of all-star selection normally, but like I said, because of the weak second base position for the American League, he gets the nod here.
I want to stay just with Whit for a moment. You mentioned about the lack of depth in second baseman in the American League. There's somebody that's missing from this roster. He plays for the Houston Astros. I think his name is Jose Altuve. You think Jose should have gotten consideration to be on the team?
I don't, because he was out for the majority of the first part of the season due to injury. So I'm not sure he has the stats worthy of all-star selection either. Now he's a big sexy name, but the stats aren't there for Altuve because he just doesn't have the games played. You know, I think normally if Jose Altuve was healthy from the jump, you wouldn't see Whit Merrifield on this roster, because he would be replaced by Jose Altuve. But because Jose Altuve doesn't have the games or the stats to qualify, that's why you see someone like Whit Merrifield sliding in here.
All right, fair enough, and that takes care of first base, second base, and third base with Vladimir Guerrero Jr., Whit Merrifield, and Jose Ramirez. And let's stay also the Toronto Blue Jays again. We move over to the shortstop position, and we have Bo Bichette making a second All-Star game representing the Toronto Blue Jays. And also at the shortstop position, making his first All-Star team, Wander Franco from the Tampa Bay Rays. We know what Bo brings to the table, but, man, Wander represents a future All-Star and a future talent for many years to come. Give me your thoughts on Bo and Wander making the All-Star team.
I think both of these guys are the best young shortstops in the American League, and it's not even close. I think Bo is slightly ahead of Wander in my book, but that doesn't mean Wander's a slouch at all. I think, personally, I think Bo's had a better season than the All-Star Game starter, Corey Seager, just a better overall season. And I think he deserved to get that nod as a starter, but it's a fan vote that gets the starter, so I understand why he's not. It's a popularity contest. So, but Bo is unbelievable talent. He's great in every aspect of the game, and so is Wander. They're both going to be generational talents for their teams. We're going to see their names in All-Star festivities for the next 10 to 15 years because they're still so young and still so talented. Wander has some discipline issues that they're trying to work out in Tampa, where he doesn't run out pop flies or whatever, and he gets benched. But I think with a manager like Kevin Cash, I think he'll get it worked out. But as far as their baseball abilities, these guys are second to none. I think they're the cream of the crop, the best of the best, and we'll see them on All-Star rosters for years to come.
Rightfully so, and congratulations to Bo and Wander on making the All-Star team. All right, we've got the outfield, and I've got to tell you, these gentlemen are fantastic at the outfield position. We've got Yordan Alvarez. What a postseason he had last year for the Houston Astros, helping them win the World Series. He won't be playing in this year's All-Star game due to injury, but this will be his second All-Star game. And also representing the outfield, we mentioned his name, and you mentioned him as well, Dave, Adolis Garcia from the Texas Rangers making his second All-Star team. We've got Austin Hayes from the Baltimore Orioles making his first All-Star team, followed by Luis Robert Jr. I mean, it's long overdue for Luis making an All-Star team representing the Chicago White Sox. Kyle Tucker representing the Houston Astros. I mean, hey, we know what Kyle brings to the table as well. And we talk about the future of Major League Baseball. Julio Rodriguez from the Seattle Mariners making his second All-Star team. Give me your thoughts on those gentlemen making another All-Star team.
Well, let's start with Yordan Alvarez. I think Yordan Alvarez, for me, is the best overall rounded hitter in baseball. The way he hits for average and hits for massive power is so rare, and it's not quite unicorn status like Shohei Ohtani, but it's I wouldn't even say generational. It's like once every 3 generations you see a guy like this come up and just absolutely mash the baseball, but also hit for average, where he could put up 40 or 50 home runs and drive in 130 RBIs, but also hit 330. And you don't see guys like that. And so I think Yordan Alvarez is so good that it's sad that he's not playing because of injury, but he's I think is the best hitter in baseball in my opinion. Best overall hitter, I would say. And then we talked about Garcia and Hayes. They got upgraded to being starters because of injuries. Both of these guys are supremely talented. I think they're both in their first All-Star games, and both are huge reasons why their clubs are where they are. Garcia with the Rangers and Hayes with the Orioles have really been crucial contributors to their teams to be in first and second place respectively. Luis Robert, man, this guy, we thought he was going to be this good a couple years ago when he came up, and he just had injury problems, and he just didn't put it all together. But it seems like this year he's finally putting it all together and being the player that we thought. He's supremely talented. Kyle Tucker is a surprise to me, not in the fact that he's an all-star this year, but the fact that where he was when he first came up, he was like a bottom-of-the-order guy. I didn't really think much of him when he first came up, but slowly over the years he's really developed into a good all-around hitter as well as a good all-around baseball player. And so the trajectory, the development of Kyle Tucker has been really good for the Houston Astros, and no surprise that he's on this team. And then, J-Rod, no surprise that, when there was an injury to a player on this roster that they called J-Rod's name to represent the hometown team in the All-Star game, because J-Rod's one of those guys. He's a lot like Acuna, where he's just a spark plug. You put him in that lineup, and he can wow you with his glove one night. He can wow you with his bat one night. He could wow you, stealing bases one night. He could wow you by throwing a guy out at home one night. Like, there's so many things that he does well, and he's going to be in the home run derby too. So excited to see that, because that's kind of where he made his presence felt last year. Nobody really knew who he was until he put on that show at Dodger Stadium. So excited to see him in the not only in the home run derby but in the All-Star game this year.
Rightfully so, and again, congratulations to those gentlemen on making the All-Star team. And finally, at the designated hitter position, we have Brent Rooker making his first All-Star team representing the Oakland A's. Man, what an interesting year it's been for the Oakland A's, with all of the distractions that they've had to deal with the pending move to Las Vegas, and then there was the reverse boycott that had taken place. But one of the few bright spots for the A's this year, in this first half of the year, has been designated hitter Brent Rooker. Give me your thoughts on Brent making an All-Star team.
I will say that he's there only because the A's have to have a representative on their team. I'm not sure that there's really anybody on the Oakland A's that is worthy of an all-star selection, because that team is this team may go down as the worst team to ever step foot on a baseball diamond. They've been really bad all season. They had a stretch where they were really hot for some reason and nobody could beat them, which was strange. But they've also had stretches where they've been by far the worst team in Major League Baseball, and I think they're gonna easily touch 100 losses this year. And there's a reason the fan base is upset. The ownership's not putting any money into bringing good players to the team, and then when they do get good players, they trade them away. So it's like, I would be frustrated too if I was an Oakland A's fan, and fortunately I'm not. But the whole thing, the whole mess with them possibly moving to Vegas. Well, first it was announced they were moving to Vegas. Now they're not moving to Vegas. Now they're kind of still in the running to moving to Vegas. It's just a whole mess. Major League Baseball really hasn't handled the situation well. The Oakland A's ownership hasn't handled the situation well. So it's been a huge mess in Oakland this year. Great for Rooker to get a nod for an All-Star game, but there would be several. If every team didn't have to be represented, there would be several guys that I would put ahead of Rooker for this spot.
Yeah, absolutely. Tough times in tough times in Oakland right now, certainly. And man, a franchise that was once so proud and so many great Hall of Famers now it's come to this, unfortunately. But Brent Rooker making an All-Star team for the Oakland A's at the designated hitter position. All right, let's get to the pitchers, and we've got Felix Bautista representing the Baltimore Orioles. This is his first All-Star appearance. Also, we have his teammate, Yennier Cano, representing the Baltimore Orioles. This is his first All-Star appearance. And Luis Castillo from the Seattle Mariners. Oh, man. You talking about arriving with the trade deadline that happened last year, coming over to Seattle from Cincinnati. I mean, Luis has been throwing the high heat and then some. Give me your thoughts on those gentlemen making an All-Star team.
Well, let's start with the guys from Baltimore. Bautista and Cano have really quietly under the radar, developed a 1-2 punch at the back end of that Baltimore bullpen that is hard to compete with. It's hard to find another 1-2 punch in baseball right now that's as good as these two guys. And that's one of the reasons why Baltimore, like there's several factors why Baltimore is where they are right now, but one of those reasons is once it gets past the seventh inning, if you're not winning against Baltimore, you're not going to win because these guys come in, they shut the door, they shut it down, and it's over. And so no surprise that, from me at least, that these two guys got the All-Star nod. Man, they're a 1-2 punch at the back end of a bullpen that is second to none. So it's great to see them get recognized for that. And then Luis Castillo, for years, has been one of my favorite players that is not on my team. There's a handful that I watch that are not on my team, and this is one of those guys. I love a guy like Luis Castillo who can run up a fastball at 97 miles an hour and then throw a changeup that looks the exact same but takes 10 miles an hour off of it and makes you look silly. And Luis Castillo is that guy. He's had one of the best changeups in baseball for the last 5 or 6 years. He's been in an All-Star. I think he's been an All-Star before, if I'm not mistaken, but or really close. He's been in the Cy Young conversation in the National League when he was with the Reds. Imagine if the Reds didn't trade him away this year, how good that Reds team would be with an ace like Luis Castillo. Glad to see him doing well in Seattle. Glad to see him representing the hometown Mariners in the All-Star game up there, and excited to see what Luis Castillo does in the future.
All right, absolutely, and that takes care of those gentlemen making the All-Star team. Now, he's been one of the best closing pitchers in the business. He won't be playing due to injury. Emmanuel Clase, representing the Cleveland Guardians. This is going to be his second All-Star appearance. Give me your thoughts on Emmanuel making another All-Star team.
No surprise. One of the dominant closers in the American League. He's had a few up and downs the last couple of weeks, but he's got nasty stuff coming in the ninth inning for that team. I don't know how other teams, look at a ninth inning when Clase is on the mound, but if it was me, if I was in the dugout, I would think, yeah, we have no shot to win this game. Let's just pack it in, because this guy comes in, throws, triple digits, and then, has the off-speed stuff to make you look silly too. So he's hard to hit, and he's so talented. I'm glad to see that he's getting recognized for his efforts, but it also sad to hear that I didn't hear that part where he was injured and not participating. So that's news to me, but it's sad that if that's that case that he's not playing, because he's really talented.
Yeah, rightfully so, and certainly Emmanuel makes another All-Star team. And a couple of other pitchers that I want to talk about for a moment. Garrett Cole, I mean, you talk about, again, one of the best in the business throwing the high heat, representing the New York Yankees. This is going to be a sixth All-Star appearance. And also Nathan Eovaldi. Nathan's really turned it up since arriving from the Boston Red Sox. He currently plays for the Texas Rangers. This is going to be his second All-Star appearance. And we have Carlos Estevez representing the Los Angeles Angels. This is his first All-Star appearance. So give me your thoughts on Garrett, Nathan, and Carlos making an All-Star team.
Well, Cole's no surprise. I mean, he's the ace of the Yankees. The Yankees, obviously one of the most talked about teams in baseball every year, because they're in the biggest market in the country. So Cole's had the numbers to back it up. He's been really solid for the Yankees ever since they signed him, so that's no surprise. Evaldi's kind of had a renaissance year down in Texas. Evaldi's always had the talent, always had the arm talent to be this level of pitcher. But unfortunately, he's been one of those guys that's been just nagged by the injury bug. And so we've seen him have, Tommy John surgery and have to bounce back from that and then, be on innings limits, as you're recovering from that. So you never got to see the full potential of Nate Eovaldi. Well, now you're seeing the full potential of Nate Eovaldi because he's healthy. He's on a good team that produces runs for him, and he's throwing the ball well. And he's one of those guys that gets it up there near triple digits, and then just has an arsenal of stuff that is pretty wicked. So I'm glad to see Eovaldi, step into the talent that we all knew he had. And then Carlos Estevez is one of those guys who, if you aren't a fan of the team, you don't really have the name recognition. But he's the closer for the Angels, and I think when he was snubbed the first time around, I think this guy's the injury replacement for Clase, if I'm not mistaken. But Estevez has been perfect for the Angels in save situations this year. And that's hard to do because when you come into a save situation, it could be a 1-run save situation, a 3-run save situation. You can come in with a 4-run lead and the bases loaded. It's still a save situation. So there's all sorts of save situations that come your way. You might have a runner on third when you come in for your save situation, and if you give up that run, that blown save comes to you, So the fact that he has 0 blown saves for the year has converted every opportunity that the Angels have given him is why he's on this team, and he's been really solid, especially, you lose a guy like Raisel Iglesias, who was one of the best closers in baseball. You lose him to Atlanta, and then you replace him with Estevez, not really knowing what you're going to get, and he turns into an all-star. So that's a good find for the Angels, and glad to see him on this team.
Rightfully so. And again, congratulations to Garrett, Nathan, and Carlos on making the All-Star team. A couple of other pitchers I want to talk about just briefly. Sonny Gray, representing the Minnesota Twins, making his 3rd All-Star appearance. Also, we got Kevin Gausman from the Toronto Blue Jays making his 2nd All-Star team. You talking about throwing the heat. Kevin brings it like no other. And we've got George Kirby representing the Seattle Mariners making his 1st All-Star team. So give me your thoughts on Sonny, Kevin, and George making the All-Star team.
Well, Sonny Gray is having an under-the-radar Cy Young type season. And what's crazy is there's 2 other pitchers in Minnesota that should be on this All-Star roster too that are not getting nods in Joe Ryan and Pablo Lopez. I think Minnesota has the best 3-headed pitching monster in baseball, and they don't get talked about at all because they're only near 500 and barely leading their division. But those 3 guys in Minnesota are really, really tough to handle if you have to face them in 3 consecutive games. And Sonny Gray obviously has been leading that charge for Minnesota, but his other 2 counterparts who unfortunately didn't get All-Star nods have been there right with him and really been pitching well. So good to see Gray on this list. Sad to see that, Ryan and Pablo Lopez are not on this list. Kevin Gausman is he was a giant. So I loved watching Kevin Gausman when he was on my team. I hated that he left because I think Kevin Gausman has the most unhittable pitch in baseball when he throws that split change. When he sets it up right, it's unhittable. Like you can know it's coming, you can see it coming, and you're still not going to touch it. It's filthy. I think it's the best pitch in baseball. And then George Kirby, one of those young kids that came up through the Seattle system that came on the scene last year, helped them get to the playoffs, and has followed that campaign with another solid campaign of his own. I believe he's an injury replacement, but deserving nonetheless. So good to see him, get the nod for the hometown Mariners.
Absolutely. And again, congratulations to Sonny, Kevin, and George on making an All-Star team. And making his first All-Star team representing the Detroit Tigers, is Michael Lorenzen. Give me your thoughts on Michael making his first All-Star team.
Lorenzen is one of those guys where if every team didn't have to have a representative, he wouldn't be part of this process because he's had flashes of really great pitching, and then he's had flashes where he looks lost out there. But the entire Tigers organization looks lost at this moment. I mean, Javi Baez swings at pitches that are 3 feet out of the strike zone, and you're sitting there scratching your head like, what are we doing here, guys? Are we playing baseball? Because the Tigers don't seem to know what's going on in Detroit, and unfortunately for them, they have to send somebody. It just happens to be Lorenzen, who has shown flashes of greatness, which I believe is why he's been chosen. But it's a head scratcher for me. I think I could have gone a couple of different ways if I had to pick somebody from the Tigers. Maybe, like they did with Pujols last year. Maybe bring Miguel Cabrera on for like a farewell tour type thing, But, I just don't see why Lorenzen was chosen. And I struggle to see I would struggle to choose anybody off that Tigers team, to be honest. So you got to choose somebody. Lorenzen gets the call here. So.
All right, and you put it best. The Detroit Tigers have their lone representative for this year's All-Star game, and that's Michael Lorenzen at the pitcher position. And we talk about one of the top closing pitchers in the business, Kenley Jansen. We know about Kenley during his time with the Los Angeles Dodgers, and now Kenley's currently with the Boston Red Sox. And also, he had some time with the Atlanta Braves, but now he's with the Boston Red Sox. This is his 4th All-Star game. Give me your thoughts on Kenley making another All-Star team.
This one's tough for me because Kenley is obviously been one of the best closers, of the generation as far as the number of saves he's gotten. He's up over 400, which I'm not sure in today's game we'll see a guy get up there to that number, ever again, because nowadays it's like if you struggle as a closer, yeah, we'll give you a chance. If you start to struggle, then you're done. Teams go through closers like they go through T-shirts. It's just like, okay, you're done. So it's hard to do what Kenley's done for so long and maintain your status as a closer. So you got to respect that in some way. But his numbers over the last several years, towards the end with the Dodgers and now, with the Braves and with the Boston, he's given up a lot more runs because his velocity has come down so much. But somehow, some way, he still gets the job done. And that's just kudos to Kenley Jansen. He's one of the great closers, and he's still finding a way to get it done, even though his stuff is diminishing. So you got to give credit where credit's due, and Kenley's. I think Kenley's going to be a Hall of Famer, so you got to give credit where credit's due, and to a future Hall of Famer, give him his due. So.
Most definitely got to give him his due while he's still playing, and certainly Kenley, congratulations to him on making another All-Star team. And now a gentleman that won't be playing, unfortunately, due to injury, and that's Shane McClanahan. You talk about being in the top 5 in the American League in practically every major pitching category, from wins to ERAs to strikeouts to innings pitched. He represents the Tampa Bay Rays. This is his 2nd All-Star appearance. Give me your thoughts on Shane making another All-Star team.
Shane McClanahan is the best pitcher in the American League, bar none. There is no better pitcher in the American League better than Shane McClanahan at what he does. The way Shane McClanahan goes out there and pitches a ball game should be studied by every young pitcher that's coming up through the ranks, because he comes in there, he throws strikes, he doesn't walk guys, he gets strikeouts, and then he next thing you know, you're in the 7th inning and you turn around and you still have a 0 on the scoreboard. He just goes out there and he wins. He puts his team in position to win every single time out, and it talent-wise is the best pitcher in the American League for me. I know Shohei does what he does, and Shohei's a unicorn, but if I'm talking just pitching, I think McClanahan is the best pitcher in the American League.
Rightfully so, and definitely Shane's been really having an amazing first half of the year, so big ups to Shane McClanahan on making another All-Star team. Of course, we talked about Shohei Ohtani, not only selected to the All-Star game for the American League as the designated hitter in the starting role, but also as a pitcher as well. And also rounding out the pitchers on the roster, Framber Valdez, from the Houston Astros. This is his second All-Star appearance. You talk about throwing major heat and throwing 95 and above. Framber, he's doing that and then some. Give me your thoughts on Framber making another All-Star team.
Framber Valdez is so talented, and it's hard to – what makes him hard to hit is that he comes from a different arm angle than most guys, and he comes with surprise heat. And it's when I say surprise heat, it's when you're standing in the batter's box, you see the ball coming, you see how fast it's coming, but for some reason it's got a little extra zip on it, and you can't identify where that zip comes from. But you know it's 95, you're timing 95, and you're still late. And Framber Valdez has that innate ability to get a little extra zip on his pitches, comes from a little different arm angle, is efficient with his pitches, has a nasty curveball to go along with 95, 96, 97. So no surprise that Framber's on this list and an all-star because I believe he's in the top 2 or 3 in earned run average. So if you get one run off of Framber, you did a tremendous job because he is a great pitcher.
Rightfully so, and that's Framber Valdez from the Houston Astros making another All-Star team, and that takes care of the 2023 Major League Baseball All-Star rosters for both the National League and the American League. Again, I'm going to sound a little biased here for a moment. We were talking about the National League pitchers, Dave, and I know Justin Verlander for the New York Mets has not had a great first half, but Max Scherzer, why do you think Max Scherzer was not selected to be on the roster for the National League in terms of the pitchers?
I mean, he got suspended, didn't he? For possibly cheating. That's always a black mark on a player. You know, when you get popped for either for PEDs like Tatis or you get popped for cheating in any way, it's always going to look bad, right? And then on top of that, he hasn't been the Max Scherzer we've known and seen the last 15 years. He's been a slightly lesser version of himself than he normally is. So, like, I get your point. Max is one of those guys, but his ERA right now is over 4. I mean, yeah, he's got a lot of wins because, you know, he plays for a team that's offensively talented, but, you know, his ERA is up over 4. So, and that's not the Max that we're accustomed to seeing. So, I get your point, but at the same time, it's not, the numbers don't quite add up to me for Max Scherzer.
Yeah, it's been a tough go for the Mets, especially this first half of the year. But, you know, nevertheless, Max Scherzer, I thought, should have got some consideration. But, hey, nevertheless, left off the All-Star team. And, of course, we touched briefly on Francisco Lindor. So now it's set. So we have our managers for this year's Major League Baseball All-Star team. Of course, Dusty Baker will be managing the American League with the Houston Astros. I mean, Dusty, hey, one of the likable guys, one of the respectable guys in Major League Baseball. He's the manager of the Houston Astros. And, of course, Rob Thompson, he'll manage the National League with the Philadelphia Phillies. Just give me your thoughts on those two gentlemen as this year's managers.
Well, they automatically get to represent their teams in the All-Star game because they managed in the World Series the year before. And going back to that World Series, I'm glad that, you know, Dusty Baker finally got the monkey off his back and got that World Series win, so props to him. But as far as these two managers go, they're good managers. Rob Thompson has done incredibly well with what he's been given in Philadelphia, especially after the guys before him couldn't figure it out. He came in, lit a fire into that team, and got them all the way to the Fall Classic. And so you know, he's deserving to be there because, you know, he really put on a managerial showcase, you know, the second half of the season and especially in the playoffs really propelled his team to the World Series. So, you know, he deserves to be there. And then obviously Dusty Baker is a Hall of Fame manager, you know, finally getting the World Series ring, but he's been a Hall of Fame manager for years, you know, for several teams, for the Giants, for the Cubs, the Reds, and now with the Astros. So good to see Dusty finally get that ring and get to manage an All-Star game.
Absolutely, and a big ups again to Dusty Baker for being one of the managers for this year's All-Star Game, and, of course, Rob Thompson as well. And this year's All-Star Game, Dave, is going to be at T-Mobile Park in one of the great cities of the world, Seattle, Washington. And, when we think of Seattle, we think of course, the Seattle Seahawks that play in the NFL. And, of course, we talk about the baseball tradition. Well, of course, before Seattle had the NBA when the Seattle Supersonics were there. But Seattle, such a great baseball history with the Mariners. And, of course, we know about Ken Griffey Jr., Jay Buhner, also with Edgar Martinez, Omar Vizquel. Also, you had, Randy Johnson, the big unit, and even as recent as Ichiro Suzuki, and, of course, the current with Julio Rodriguez. Just kind of give me your thoughts on the venue for this year's All-Star Game in Seattle and the baseball history there.
Well, the baseball history at that ballpark hasn't been particularly good if you take away the 2001 season where they won 116 games. Other than that, it's been kind of a struggle for Seattle to really put some good teams together. Now, they broke their playoff drought last season and had a really good season to put together, and they're, but currently right now they're in fourth place in the AL West. So again, it's been a struggle for the Mariners this year to really stay consistent. But they have good young talent. They have guys that are strong at all their positions. Their bullpen is kind of weak, so the Mariners, I think might be buyers at the trade deadline coming up soon. So you may see them make a couple moves to see if they can get back into contention. But overall, the venue at T-Mobile Park is a great venue. It lends to being a pitcher-friendly venue just slightly, so it's not really hitter-friendly unless you're a left-handed hitter. Then it tends to lean more hitter-friendly if you're a lefty. But overall, it leans slightly to pitching. So expect this All-Star Game to be a little more on the pitching side. You might see like a 3-2, 4-3 game with dominant pitching on both sides, and you might see a couple of lefties get a hold of one and take one out of the yard. But it's going to be hard for the righties to really get a hold of the ball and get it out of that park. But in the home run derby, though, it will be a little different because those guys are swinging out of their socks, and you very well might see balls hit out of that stadium if they can get enough elevation behind it. So overall, I think it's a good venue for the festivities. It's going to be interesting to see how the home run derby plays out. But as far as the game goes, I think it's going to lean slightly towards the pitching, being pitching friendly, and I think if I'm going to make a prediction, I'm going to say American League wins 4-2.
Yeah, I'm going for the American League on this one. I mean, when you've got, and those outfielders are outstanding, especially on the reserves, and of course, with Shohei Ohtani and that pitching staff, you definitely can't go wrong. And of course, Framber Valdez and Luis Castillo, you definitely can't go wrong with that. So that takes care of the preview of the 2023 Major League Baseball All-Star Game. I'm talking to my man Dave Bartley. And Dave, as always, man, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to be with us on the program. Just tell everybody where they can find you on social media, any websites, let them know that as well.
You can just find me on Instagram at JuiceBoxBartley. That's really the main place where I'm active and a part of just everything going on. I don't really mess with anything else, just Instagram.
Gotcha, man. Dave, again, this was solid. Thank you so much, my man. If ever you want to come back on, just feel free to let us know.
Hey, you let me know when you want me on, and I'll be there. Thanks, man.
Oh, you're welcome. We'll be back with more right after this.
Oh boy! Ronald Acuna Jr. with a tape measure shot. Ronald hammers it. Get it! It's another two-run homer.
And they make contact.
There's a deep drive to center. Way back, fire away, big boy. Off the batter's eye.
Ronald Acuna to left. Back is Steer, and the ballpark will not hold it.
Nothing right here.
See what I mean? That is high, that is deep, that is gone. Shohei Ohtani. Spectacular indeed. He's just not real.
Shohei has 119 strikeouts in his 90 innings this year.
Swing and a miss. High fastball at 98. Shohei dials up the gas.
Years ago.
Ohtani hits one in the air, left center field, hit well. Robert is back, so it's Benintendi. It's gone! Shohei Ohtani!
Leftovers. Or the DMV.
Number 97.
Or house cleaning. Or
Chumba Casino always brings the fun. Play over 100 different games online for free from anywhere. You could redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. Live the Chumba life. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
With the Lucky Land Slots, you can get lucky just about anywhere.
This is your captain speaking. We've got clear runway and the weather's fine, but we're just going to circle up here a while and get lucky. No, nothing like that. It's just these cash prizes add up quick. So I suggest you sit back, keep your tray table upright, and start getting lucky.
Play for free at LuckyLandSlots.com. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Leftovers or the DMV
Number 97.
or house cleaning or Chumba Casino always brings the fun. Play over 100 different games online for free from anywhere. You could redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. Live the Chumba life. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
All right, everybody, that's going to do it for another exciting edition of The Robinson Show. Once again, a big special thank you to Dave Bartley, baseball aficionado that really knows his baseball. Again, thanks to Dave for appearing on the program as we discuss the 2023 Major League Baseball All-Star rosters and this year's All-Star Game venue, T-Mobile Park in Seattle, Washington. And until next time, everybody, remember, put God first in everything you do and you can't go wrong. Until next time, stick to the script. I'm out. Peace. Hey everybody, thank you so much for tuning into the channel. Remember to click like, share, and subscribe. Once again, thank you so much for tuning into the channel. Remember to click like, share, and subscribe. And thank you for watching.